Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Europa and how NASA's going to try to find life there. Thank you for watching this video. So let's get right into it. So Europa is a moon of Jupiter that was discovered by Galileo, and it has its own subsurface ocean that's heated up by Jupiter's gravitational pull. When Europa gets closer to Jupiter in its elliptic orbit, it gets compressed. And when it gets farther away from Jupiter, it gets decompressed. And this friction heats up its subsurface enough to create its own ocean. And it's at just the right distance in its elliptical orbit. So that way it's not too close to Jupiter in its orbit like another moon, Io, where it's too hot to support life because the gravitational pull creates too much friction and you get too much thermal energy and it becomes too hot for life to exist. But it's also not like the moon Ganymede that also orbits Jupiter, where it's too far away from Jupiter for the friction to have an effect on it, and it doesn't get heated and it's too cold for life. And Europa could have its own ecosystem that would be powered by thermal vents, similar to the ecosystems in the Mariana Trench. Now that we know that Europa can theoretically support life, how will NASA search for life on Europa? Well, in Europa, NASA is building the Europa Clipper spacecraft to start searching for life on Europa. NASA will use the SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket to launch the Europa Clipper spacecraft into orbit around Jupiter in order to collect information on Europa. And the reason why NASA is using the Falcon Heavy rocket is because the Falcon Heavy rocket is the most economical option. And the Europa Clipper spacecraft will use radar to determine how thick the icy surface of Europa is, and how stretched does the icy surface of Europa get from its elliptical orbit around Jupiter. The Europa Clipper spacecraft will also take samples from Europa's plumes to look for biosignatures, which would be signs of life.
So now I'm going to show you how NASA could explore the oceans of Europa. So here's a Europa lander concept that I made. And the most important part is this little capsule right here. So in this capsule will be a robotic submarine. And the robotic submarine will use sonar to absorb phenomenon in the subsurface ocean of Europa. As well, it will also collect samples and bring it back up to the surface for the lander to analyze using a laboratory on board, similar to what the Curiosity Mars rover uses. And as you can see, it's linked to the lander with a tether. And it'll use in the capsule, we'll use a nuclear thermal reactor to melt through the icy surface of Europa to get down into the ocean. And yeah, so that's my concept. As you can see, there's 8 thrusters to land on the surface. I have some landing pads here. And inside the body will be the laboratory to analyze the samples that are collected by the submarine. So that's it for today's video, and thank you for watching.
Where